I have been telling y'all this for the past few months that this is the best cooking podcast in the South. And if you've been following us, I'm pretty sure you know that by now.
Yes, indeed.
Tonight is no different. That's
Absolutely.
a gem. That's a gem. You dropping gems already?
Ooh.
Bro, we are 3 minutes into the
fire tonight, man. If you look at our grandparents, our parents, we look back and we think that getting these recipes off the carved in some rock or some old cypress tree in the middle of the swamp. Our grandparents and parents were innovating food too. Food is not stagnant. It's not stagnant. It's dynamic.
Every Cajun child has been tricked by their parents.
It's messed up.
We all been there because we thought that was some chocolate. And they said, go ahead. You want to taste it? Go ahead and taste it. Wipe the smile off all our faces. That's for damn sure.
Using onions, bell pepper, and celery and Tony Chachere's does not make something a Cajun dish. Let's make that very clear. Okay?
Say that again for the people in the back.
Y'all got hot pocket patience and y'all want gourmet results. It doesn't work like that.
If you're listening to this right now, and after what I just said, and after what Brandon D just said, you shaking your head like, yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about now? We're not talking about ingredients anymore, are we? We're talking about methodology and we're talking about technique.
No, there's a saying is like, I've seen so far because I stood on the shoulder of giants.
Ooh.
There's already this base of knowledge that we're working with.
Exactly.
That's a bar.
You
spitting right now. I'm about to call you Rapper B. Rapper DJ Brandon D. He's spitting right now, son. This is called stirring the pot, baby. That's what this podcast is all about. So if you can't handle the heat.
Oh, you're going to need a part two, man. We didn't even scratch the
I know.
Hello and welcome to Stirring the Pod podcast, a podcast all about discussing controversial food subjects, historical aspects of food, and pretty much everything else food and cooking related. Let me start by introducing my co-hosts. First up, we have Mr. Barbecue Brand, our resident pitmaster and a past guest on Food Network's Barbecue USA. Welcome, Barbecue Brand.
That's what it do. I am barbecue. Let's get it going.
Next up, we have Mr. Brandon D., our food science nerd and a Southern food expert. Welcome, Brandon D.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. We're about to get this kicked off.
I am KCP, your host and cookie queen. Tonight's topic is a very controversial topic. We will attempt to discuss what truly makes Cajun and Creole food traditionally authentic. What does that actually mean, and where should we start? How y'all doing, guys?
Good. This is a difficult topic. This goes into authenticity of food in general. I mean, what's authentic? What makes something authentic? Is it who makes it? How it's made? Ingredients?
Gonna cover it all tonight.
Try to. I don't know if we'll get it all in one shot, man. It's deep.
I don't know if we will, but what I will say is I have been telling y'all this for the past few months that this is the best cooking podcast in the South. And if you've been following us, I'm pretty sure you know that by now.
Yes, indeed.
Tonight is no different.
No, we're gonna cover it, man. This is a hard topic to do because this is gonna hurt people's feelings, offend people, and you need to challenge your assumptions of what you think is correct, or because what is correct? I don't know. I mean, man, I see people make things that I don't do it that way, but they learned how to do it that way, and their origins, they're from Louisiana just like me. Their parents are from there, their grandparents are from there just like me, but we do things different. What makes things authentic?
Yeah, yes. I think we're going to cover some hard. I think we're going to cover some hard topics tonight, and it is going to hurt a little bit to listen to this for some of you out there. But you know what? Sometimes you got to hurt a little bit to heal a little bit, to feel better. So it's just like going to the gym. You micro tears in those muscles. You get a little bit bigger. You understand a little bit more. So
growth only comes from a place of discomfort, man. If you're not comfortable with it, you need to grow into it.
That's Absolutely. A gem. That's a gem. You dropping gems already? Bro, we are 3 minutes into the
fire tonight, man.
3 minutes in, you dropping gems on them. Okay.
Right. Gems. So I guess where we should start maybe is ingredients. What makes ingredients traditional? for Cajun and Creole foods?
Accessibility, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So as accessibility change, so does ingredients change, right? They have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we often look back. We look back on recipes. We look at our grandparents, our parents. We look back and we think that, they're like, I don't know, that they're getting these recipes carved in some rock or some old cypress tree in the middle of the swamp. But our grandparents and parents were innovating food too. They were adapting things to things they found that became popular, to knowledge that they picked up, and they're adapting the food and changing it as it goes. Food is not stagnant. It's not stagnant. It's dynamic. Cooking is dynamic. Everything's dynamic. Recipes change, trends change. But I think what is really important is not really ingredient, but flavor profile.
Right.
Are the flavors what you expect? Are the flavors, do the ingredients enhance the flavor profile? Do they hide it? Do they make it better? Do they make it more interesting? Do they make it more, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head. And going back just a little bit to ingredients, think about how vastly different some ingredients within themselves are.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Look at chipotle powders, or different types of peppers.
Oh man, they're different.
Wildly different depending on where you get them from, depending on where they harvest, what time of the year they harvest,
right,
in what state they're in, whether they're powdered, whether it's been hanging around for a little longer in your pantry or not. The potency may have been lost on some of these. All of these things are vastly different when we talk about ingredients. So authenticity, it goes so deep when we start talking about that.
Yeah. I mean, something as simple as an onion. Look at all the different varieties there are of onions, like which one goes with which. I mean, this is why we want to talk about this, is because some people, like, white onions definitely are not a Cajun thing, but yellow and perhaps red, it depends on the situation. Those two can be interchangeable depending on what you're cooking, right? So the same thing can go for a shallot, which is just a little bit further out of that family. And, you have more of a garlic flavor with that. So there's so many variations within, just like you said, one ingredient.
Yeah, shallots tend to be a little bit milder, a little bit sweeter.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like, I guess, a really mild red onion with a little hint of garlic in it. That's kind of what I could say. But in general, does the flavor of a shallot interfere with the profile of Creole and Cajun food, or does it enhance it? I think it enhances it.
It definitely enhances it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a hindrance to the flavor profile. It's an accentuator of the flavor profile. So I really think you have to look at ingredients, whether they help your flavor profile, make it more interesting,
right?
But keep it in the same. We're trying to stay in this, because food varies so much between person to person. We're trying to stay in the same general field. Not everybody can make things the same. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
You can. And we should. I can give everybody a recipe, and we could all follow it to the T and come out with 3 wildly different products.
It's true.
Yep.
The only thing that really holds true, like, baking recipes are a little bit more standardized because the chemistry is kind of set, but even that'll come out a little bit different.
If you claim to be so passionate about cooking, then you understand the fact that this is culinary arts, right? This is an art form. So when you get in the kitchen, you're creating something.
Right.
So how can you be so pigeonholed to something very specific? Like we talk about, there's no rules. There's certain guidelines when it comes to flavor profiles. And obviously, if you're trying to stay true and quote unquote authentic to a specific flavor profile, then you're going to use ingredients that help you achieve what you're trying to achieve in the kitchen.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to deviate too much from that, but you can if you want, because you may be trying to create something else. You may be trying to create a fusion. You may be doing something wildly different in the kitchen, but if you're trying to stay true and authentic to the flavor profiles of a dish, then there are many things that you can use that are not necessarily completely traditional from what your mom or your grandmother used due to certain things, accessibility. There's just certain things that we have access to now that just may be flat out better. And I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna let y'all go. But think about this particular situation. This was probably about a year and a half ago. My neighbor, and I'm gonna call him out on the podcast. My neighbor Tyler, called me up one day and he's like, "Hey, bro, I'm about to make a gravy, but I don't have any bell pepper. You got a bell pepper I could borrow?" I went look in the refrigerator. I normally have peppers just kind of laying around. So I look around. I didn't see anything. I said, "No, man." I said, "I don't have a bell pepper, but I got a poblano pepper." He was like, "All right, give it to me. I'm gonna use it." I'm like, "Okay." I wasn't sure he was gonna be open to the idea of it, but I just threw it out there, and he's like, "All right, give it to me." So I went, sent my daughter Chelsea. She went bring it to him. He made a gravy. I didn't get to taste it, but I called him the next day. I said, "Man, how your gravy came out?" He's like, "Oh, it was fire." He said it was a little bit different, because I used the poblano instead of the green pepper. He said, but it was hitting. I'm like, see? Now, is a poblano pepper a part of the Trinity? No.
Not traditionally.
Does it work?
It works.
Yes, it does.
Why? Because you're staying true to your flavor profiles.
Right. To me, it just adds a little bit more. What it does is heightens,
those
flavor
more
profiles you're saying, and it just enhances what you're cooking.
It's a little bit less bitter. It's got a little bit of heat to it, but and I think the poblano works better than the bell pepper. I think if there was like a fight between green bell peppers and poblanos, the poblano would win. I mean, it's just better.
Yeah.
I've seen championship gumbo cooks use poblanos instead of bell peppers.
Why not? B, what did you say about the poblano pepper in a previous episode? Do you remember what you said about it?
I can remember.
Oh, no, not the poblano pepper, the green pepper.
It's the red delicious of the pepper world. It's got the least amount of flavor.
I thought that was profound because it is absolutely true.
Yes.
You can be straight up like a red bell pepper and a yellow bell pepper, orange bell pepper, all taste better than the green.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like there's people in Louisiana that if you're willing to substitute a red bell pepper for a green, then you should be willing to substitute a green bell pepper for a poblano.
Totally. And because it works. It just works. It does. But most people don't know about it because they don't have access to it because it's not popular in wherever they are. I mean, like here in Houston, I mean, you find them everywhere. It's finding good looking ones is the problem.
Yeah.
You want that skin to be tight, no wrinkles.
Yeah, nice and shiny.
Yeah.
See, access. That's
access.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. That's
exactly,
all it comes.
Exactly.
And that's where how we got to where we are today is the access. The things that the original Trinity back. When there were settlers here in Louisiana. I mean, they used carrots to start. And then, we talked about this on previous episodes where it's just what you could grow, what grows and what's wild. I mean, like there are wild onions that grow in Louisiana. There are wild leeks that grow in Louisiana. They have all these things and that's what they use. That's how we got to where we are today.
I don't think people realize this. People used to cook with thistle too.
Thistle is like celery.
Correct.
It's edible. The stalks are edible.
The stalks of them, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now you gotta cut off all them pecans on there, but you're gonna go look for some thistles. We go in the pastures in the spring and get some thistles.
Oh, you're gonna see me frolicking through the thistles.
Now, I did say that the bluebonnets here in Texas are the equivalent to the thistles in Louisiana, but nobody taking pictures with them.
Yeah, right. They got thistles in Texas.
I think that needs to change. I think we need to be in a patch full of thistles.
Yeah, you just got to think about it. Like, not everybody had access to celery in Louisiana either. Like, there are some people that say, "Oh, we never put celery in our food." Like, boy, you didn't have access to it; it wouldn't be in there.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. Think about just people back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Just having access to things that they're growing. So part of our pride in this area in Southern Louisiana, let's be real. Part of our pride is how we can make things work and be ultra happy and make great food with what we have. That's always been the thing. I can take whatever that's growing out in the yard and I'm gonna make something that's gonna make you lose your mind, right? Because that's what I have access to.
Right.
That's the beauty of Cajun / Creole food. Like is actually doing it, making like some of the best food in the world with some of the least amount of means possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So everything comes down to not just, what's in it, but how it's done. So the methodology in Cajun and Creole cooking is super important.
Right. So
you can't skip it. You can't do it without, like, you can't make a gravy without really browning your meat and really browning down your onions. If you miss that step, if you miss the ultra browning, the point where you're almost burning things, like almost burning, it's just almost there. If you miss that step, you miss basically the essence of what it is.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's so that the technique is just ultra important. It's the key to the whole thing. You have to be willing. You cannot copy Louisiana food without copying the technique. You have to get the technique down.
So if you're listening to this right now, and after what I just said, and after what Brandon D just said, you shaking your head like, yeah, that's right. We can make really, some of the world's best food with anything that we have too. Like that's part of my heritage. That's part of my pride living here in Southern Louisiana, is being able to do that. Mm-hmm. What are we talking about now? We're not talking about ingredients anymore, are we? We're talking about methodology, and we're talking about technique.
This is
because if we're talking about making some of the best food in the world with whatever I have access to, mm-hmm. we're not talking about ingredients. Is not even a part of this conversation anymore. We have transcended that.
Right.
So that's what this conversation is about. What is authenticity?
Yes.
Right. So let's take an example of like a meat we don't have commonly in Louisiana that wasn't really grown. Lamb, right? Not a whole lot of lamb in Louisiana. If you were to take a tough piece of lamb meat and make like a Cajun style gravy out of that, is that unauthentic?
No,
it
isn't.
I mean,
because it's not really the lamb that makes it Cajun. It's the technique how the lamb is cooked.
Well, yeah. So then you would be at that point. You would say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have made an authentic dish with other ingredients.
With other ingredients, correct. But it's still authentic because of the way that you cooked it. The style that you cooked it.
The methodology makes it authentic. It's not really a stretch. It's like you just have to think about access. People back in the day, they really didn't have access to lamb. Louisiana's kind of hot for raising sheep. Mm-hmm. They have big, heavy coats. It's not really practical. Mm-hmm. But if you were to take lamb meat and make a gravy out of it and use the right flavor profile that you would expect for Cajun Creole food, it would be a Cajun dish. It would be a lamb Cajun gravy or Creole gravy.
So perfect. It's just...
Oh, go ahead.
It's just a modernization of traditional ingredients. So you have a meat that needs to be braised, that needs to be browned. It's the same thing. No matter what it is, you have to cook it the same way to get the result that you want.
The best rice and gravy I've ever had in my life, and it's stuck with me till this day. I feel like I can still taste it when I talk about it. There's this young man in y'all neck of the woods in Houston. I've told y'all about this place, Viola and Agnes. His people are from Louisiana. I think it's two grandmothers or whatever from Louisiana. He's the grandson, and he got a lot of his recipes from them. He's been in culinary arts for a long time, so he elevated them. I went over there. He made a rice and gravy. It was beef cheeks. He braised some beef cheeks down, made a beef cheek rice and gravy.
That boy licking his lips like House said.
I haven't tasted anything here like that, and I promise you, there wasn't just Trinity in that, but it was so beefy and it was so just. It was a real Cajun style gravy, and it was good, Joe.
Yeah, it
was good, son.
How House said that? Look at him licking his lips right now.
He's licking his lips right now.
Look, I'll tell you right now, dude. If you want to make the best beef gravy you ever make, beef cheeks is going to be the thing.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing that makes a better gravy than
that boy
cheeks.
Did that.
It is the most used muscle on the cow. It has the most flavor. It has the most collagen, so it makes the most gelatin, which makes the best gravy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who around here cooking beef cheek gravy in rice? Nobody. Is that authentic? Actually, it is because of his technique and his methodology on how he did it. He made me a rice and gravy. It was just with a different type of meat, I know he elevated those ingredients.
Yeah, it's just the thing is like
that's all it is.
you have to realize when we talk about food and how food is sold, we have to talk about the economics of it. So ox cheeks, as they're called, the fancy name for them, ox cheeks or beef cheeks, are really popular in Europe. Like people eat ox cheeks, beef cheeks. That's a European thing. But when you come to the U.S., some of those things that are marketed don't really sell that well. Like a beef cheek, they're just like, oh, that's a beef cheek. What's that? It's like, it's meat, guys. I mean, so there are things that don't market well. So they're marketed to different segments of the population. In Mexican cuisine, beef cheeks are super popular.
Yeah.
Barbacoa.
And beef tongue, lingua.
Beef tongue, yeah, too.
Yeah, that's right.
Both delicious.
That is delicious.
Absolutely it is. And you'll see different types of meat or different types of cuts in different areas because it's not really economical in certain areas. Like, for instance, beef ribs, right? In Louisiana, you go to any store, you'll be able to find some cut up short ribs. You're not really going to find that. You're not really going to find the whole racks around here very often. Now, you go to Texas, you'll find that all day long.
Yeah.
Right? But
every day.
Yeah. So it's just, it's what people perceive as being economical or what people perceive them being able to do something with. If they don't really have the knowledge of it, then they're going to kind of shy away from it. But it's that's why we're here, is to really talk you through this.
Exactly.
To let you know that you can cook dishes with a lot of these different types of ingredients that we bring up.
Right. I mean, you have to open up your imagination.
Yeah.
So you have to realize what is cooking, what is the problem solving methodology of cooking? It's application and technique. And you take techniques, and then you have to apply them to situations that you have. I know I have beef cheeks. They're tough. They take a long time to break down. Therefore, I have to choose cooking methodology and techniques that maximize the flavor and potential of that. So you have the more techniques the more techniques you have to pick up, the better you'll be able to cook. And then you have to look at these things as what they are functionally. If you have tough meat with a lot of connective tissue and not a lot of fat, that's going to take a slow method. That's going to take a braise or like a smoke. So you have to use the right application, the right technique, and the right application with the right ingredients.
Yeah, and when you think about it, Cajun and Creole culture have been doing this since the inception of Louisiana and before then, because these types of cuts were used because every part of the animal was used.
Correct.
Right.
So they did do this. It may seem like a modern thing because it's more accessible now. You could just, like Brandon says, I can't believe we can go buy like a pack of chicken thighs.
Correct.
Where
to like, if you would tell this to like people from like the let's say like the early 1900s, they would think you're insane.
Exactly. So like when an animal was butchered, everything was used. So yeah, they did use these. They used the beef cheeks. They did stuff. They cooked all this stuff. So this stuff actually isn't that new of a concept. It just is. It was forgotten.
Lost.
And maybe
it's
coming back up because I see Cajun and Creole culture as a circle, right? The things that were traditional and authentic kind of lost their way to all the modernization throughout the years, like the fees. Everything became instant, like
convenience factor,
TV dinners, canned goods, frozen, all this stuff. And now it's coming full circle back that we want to get back to those roots and actually like cook back like the authentic way of things, right? So it's a full circle. We're taking all those modern things along with us and we're going back in time and trying to replicate how it started.
Right. I mean, like you think about things like stocks, how much better homemade stocks are than store-bought stocks. I mean, you could literally go buy like a bunch of like beef bones and make a stock that is way better than anything you will ever buy in the store for way less.
Yep. That's absolutely right.
But a lot of people don't know that.
It's just taking the time.
Don't have it. That is it. That is the perfect solution. It's not a solution, it's a problem. They think they don't have the time because they're cooking ramen noodles in a pirate.
Don't get me started.
Don't start him up. Don't start him up.
Start me up. I'm fired up.
That's another video. Y'all gonna see that whenever I put that out.
Now, look, you make a good point though. Like I told y'all got hot pocket patience and y'all want gourmet results. It doesn't work like that. You have to learn to love the process. If you want to love cooking, love the process of it. It is just the process. You have to love the steps. I love making stock for my gumbo because I know when I make a stock for my gumbo, hey man, I'm putting the effort and love into that first step. The first step of me making stock, I'm putting that effort into that.
That's all me right here. Every bit of this, Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you're right. People think that they don't have the time. It's all about this new age instant gratification era that we're living in. I mean, it's hard for people. It's hard to keep people's attention just with watching a video sometimes. You know?
Correct.
They want things quick. They want it now. They want it great.
Yeah.
It will never work like that with cooking. Not good food. It just won't.
Takes time.
Not cooking.
No. Look, there are plenty of great dishes you can make that don't take a lot of time.
Right.
But I'm gonna tell you one of them is not gumbo.
No. Yeah. Correction. There's certain dishes. That's what I meant to say.
There's that are real quick and delicious. There are plenty of them. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
Carbonara, delicious, quick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alfredo, delicious, quick.
But
gumbo, not quick.
Nope.
But let's be honest here. Are there any quick Cajun dishes? No.
Yeah, most of them are kind of a pain in the ass, but they don't require a lot of babysitting either.
Yeah. You know what? A lot of Cajun dishes require a lot of upfront work.
Yes.
A lot of upfront work. A lot of prep work. You make it, you do those things great, and then you get it to where now it's time for the long haul. You strapped in for the long haul, and then you can kind of, crack you a few and chill back and wait for that thing to cook down.
Hey, fried shrimp is pretty quick. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's you still got a lot of prep work before that.
Yeah,
so, you don't get to skate with that one, bro.
Yeah, but like roux is probably the most active cooking thing you'll do. That requires constant monitoring.
Mm-hmm.
That thing like making like a gravy or something else where you have to sear meat, deglaze, and all that stuff. There's parts that are real active, and then there's parts where you're just twiddling your thumbs waiting for it to finish.
Right.
It's like, oh look, I just I browned my meat, got all the grimmies on the bottom, got everything ready, put my onions in, got those all dark and cooked, put my meat back in, put the water in, and they ain't nothing but time and opportunity between that when it's done.
Yeah, just cook.
Go. Put you on a load of laundry, get a beer, get a drink, whatever wets you whistle, man, just because it's not going to be done in 20 minutes. I'm sorry to say it. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
No, I can't even think of a side dish, a Cajun-inspired side dish that is quick.
Now, most of them take quite a bit of time.
It takes some time. If it's smothered, you got to smother it to death. You got to cook it down, and
cook it till it's tired, as they say.
But what are we talking about though? We talking about techniques.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. We're talking about authenticity. You can talk about all of the different ingredients you want, but at the end of the day, I don't want to see anybody shitting on anybody else for outside of the usual stuff.
Right.
There's some things that just don't go. But
no,
I don't need people shitting on people for using different ingredients when you're cooking a traditional or authentic type of dish using traditional methods.
Right.
I'll just say this. Okay, guys, using onions, bell pepper, and celery and Tony Chachere's does not make something a Cajun dish. Let's make that very clear. Okay. Why is your Cajun food not coming out right? I see this all the time, tons of videos. Your ratio of peppers to onions is way off. Like you have literally twice the amount of peppers as you have onions. That is fundamentally wrong and flawed, deeply flawed.
Glad you brought that up.
It has to be, the onion is the base. The onions, you have
King
to have
onion.
more. King onion, man. The onions are the primary thing. They have to be more onions than bell peppers. Much more. Twice as much. You're not gonna get the right flavor by using more bell pepper. You're gonna get bitter. And that's the problem. You're overloading your food with peppers. Peppers can overwhelm a dish. Yeah. And especially green peppers.
Mm-hmm. And see, now we're getting into the why of authenticity. Yeah. Because, okay, you just said a whole mouthful there, Brandon. We got onions, we got bell pepper, we got celery. All right. Now, we talked about earlier how you can substitute bell pepper for poblano pepper. I know some of y'all out there going to just be like, what the hell? You know, y'all, it's going to blow y'all mind. Y'all blowing a gasket right now with just me even mentioning that. So while we getting into the why, we about to tag team this thing, B. Let's get into that. Onions. What are the onions for in dishes? Why do you use onions if you're making a gravy? Let's stick with a gravy. What are the onions for?
Savoriness, sweetness. But the really thing that the onions do is just ultra savory flavor. It really enhances the flavor of meat. So does celery too. But the onion gives you it gives you that little bit of sweetness and that deep, deep savory. The more you cook onions, the more savory it becomes. And that's another way that people are messing up. Your onions are not cooked enough. That is so critical. It is past the point of caramelization. Past that. We're going past that.
Yep, way past. Food. Going into the darkness.
Right.
All right. Now, celery.
Celery is interesting. It gives, like, celery has nitrates in it, which enhances meat flavors. That's another thing it does. I don't know quite too well the chemistry of celery, but there's something that when it's cooked, it's got like a little bit of like this kind of anise flavor to it. But the flavors of all these things get deeper as they're cooked. The more you cook them, the deeper their flavors become.
Yeah, just cooked celery and raw celery do not taste the same.
No, not at all.
No, don't cut off. Don't cut off. If you're not used to using celery, don't cut off a little piece of the stalk and eat it and decide that you shouldn't put it in your dish because that's just
it's totally
it's not the same thing. Way different. So we want them things like Uncle Charles.
Right. Y'all know that one. Watch our previous episodes.
Yep.
It's like the Holy Ghost, people, like the Trinity in Cajun food. It is to be felt, not seen. Like the Holy Spirit is not seen; it's just felt. You just feel it. This is Catholic school talking. 12 years. You feel the Holy Spirit. You don't see it. You don't see the onions in the gravy. They've given up their essence to it. So there's no physical, discernible, visible presence. They are gone. You get everything to the sauce, man. Everything goes into the sauce. Everything
they gave up the ghost. They gave up the ghost.
Broken down.
Yep.
Oh my God.
You got to break that stuff down, man. You don't want to see any remnants of anything.
Number 3, last but not least, bell pepper.
Bell pepper, you know what it is? It's the bitterness. It's a bittering agent, and bittering agents actually accentuate savory food.
Right.
Playing with bitterness is very, very tricky, but it can be very, very rewarding in food. For example, roux is like one of the most potently bitter substances in cooking that you can use. If you don't believe me, get a jar of roux or make some of your own, let it cool, and taste it and see what you think.
Plot twist, don't.
Don't.
Every Cajun child has been tricked by their parents.
Messed up.
We all been there because we thought that was some chocolate. And they said, go ahead. You want to taste it? Go ahead and taste it. Wipe the smile off all our faces. That's for damn sure.
I will guarantee you, if you taste roux, if you taste that, you will be tasting that for the next hour and a half minimum.
Oh, yeah.
That is all you're going
to
do. That tastes good to your palate like some peanut butter.
Oh, man, that's bad. And roux is, that bittering agent, but bittering agents are important in cooking. And also, there's a little bit of sugar in peppers too.
Yeah, especially depending on the type that you use. So,
once again, the cooked pepper is a very different flavor
than raw
from the raw version. So the cooking process is so important.
Yes.
So when you're talking about traditional Cajun Creole food, the cook of the ingredients is more important than the actual ingredients themselves. If I was to substitute shallots, poblanos, and for onions and bell peppers, how I cook those is more important than the ingredients themselves.
Yep.
Very good. Say that again for the people in the back.
How you cook it is more important than what it is. If the ingredient is close, if it's an onion, if it's a red onion, if it's a white onion, how you cook that onion or cook the shallot or cook the red onion is more important than what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all going to blend in. Because the onions, red, white, or sweet or yellow, shallots all generally have the same flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Generally different,
mm-hmm.
slightly different, but generally the same flavor. Peppers. If you're talking about sweet peppers, like poblanos is kind of like not really a sweet pepper, but it's the mildest chili pepper you can get. All of those things have the same kind of flavor profile, but some have more interesting notes than others. Like say like a habanero, super hot, but really tastes good because it's got a great citrus flavor to it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all these interesting smaller flavors that go with this stuff, but generally they work the same when they're cooked. Yeah. When you cook this stuff, how you cook it is more important than what it is. If you were to take shallots and jalapenos and cook it well, it would just generally blend into whatever Cajun Creole dish you're cooking.
Just as a caveat, like we are not saying put habaneros in your gravy.
No,
okay?
no.
We're not saying. Don't do that.
If you want to put some spice in it, it probably would be pretty good.
If you want to burn your butt too.
Just a little bit, guys. It takes very little habanero to flavor something.
Yeah. So and that's the thing. So it's like making sure that you. If I would have asked y'all, and y'all don't get mad at me for this, but this is called stirring the pot, baby. That's what this podcast is all about. So if you can't handle the heat, any of y'all that's listening to this, if I would have asked y'all the questions that I just asked Brandon D on what these ingredients are adding to a dish, your onions, your bell pepper, your celery, all of these different things, a lot of y'all wouldn't have been able to tell me. You would have just said, oh, well, man, it make it good. It go together. That's what my mama used. That's how I learned how to cook. That's just what I do.
That's what I was taught.
But you know what? That's all right. That is absolutely all right. But do not shit on the next person that tries to put other things that know about ingredients and how to transition certain ingredients in and phase other ingredients out due to access and just better stuff. If I have access to better things, I'm going to make better food. Point blank, period. I don't care what it is. If I have access to better ingredients and it fits in the dish that I'm making, I'm going to make better food. So that's what we're talking about today.
Right.
You like
I pretty much can like compare that to like let's just compare it to butter. Okay. If you got some great value butter, it's still butter, right?
It's butter, baby.
But you get that carrot gold, the same thing, similar flavor profile. One is a little bit more on the richer side because it's higher quality, right? So it's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing. Or they have all kind of butters. You can get goat butter. You can get, who knows? You can probably get elk butter. Who knows? It's the same thing, just a little bit different, right?
Right.
Sheep butter, But you have to look at so if I took like a mirepoix, which is onions, carrots, and celery, and I said, I don't have, and this is good for people who can't tolerate peppers because some people can't. They give some people like indigestion. If you were to take the mirepoix, onions, carrots, and celery, and make a Cajun gravy to it, it would be almost indiscernible.
Oh yeah,
it would not. You would not see a huge difference,
right?
Because
it wouldn't.
Peppers weren't.
It's made to do the same thing,
right? I mean, we've read this in Chef John Fose's book, my favorite book on my shelf up here, the Encyclopedia of Cajun and Creole Cuisine.
Correct.
It started with carrots because carrots were just readily available here. Peppers were brought in later.
Super European ingredient, man.
Right?
Super European. But like, if you're cooking something with tomatoes, the carrots work better in tomato-based dishes than peppers. I think that's just my opinion. I think it gives something else. But you could also, people, let me blow your mind. You could use a combination of carrots and peppers.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I do that. I do that when I make things like when I make like rice dressing from scratch. It's a real pain in the butt process. But I use onions, I use shallots, I use poblanos, I use carrots, and I use celery. I use all those things because, like, really, like with a rice dressing, I've really put a lot of vegetables in it, more than you would ever think. Like, it's a crazy amount. I might use I'm 2 or 3 onions to do a rice dressing. I use a lot because it's cooked down so much, man. You really want to. You're using things like liver and gizzards and meat and pork and beef, and you really want all those kind of flavors to melt together. And using a lot of vegetables really gives your dressing a great flavor.
So did you say you use carrots?
I do use carrots, correct?
Man, so that those carrots really help to kind of cut a little bit of that richness too. The naturalness in there, and
and they also caramelize and brown too. So they give you if you cook them down a lot, they give you a really nice rich brown color. But it's super fine dice. You won't be able to tell that there's carrots in it. It's it's cooked so much and the dice is so fine that this all just breaks apart.
It's all gone.
You won't be even able to really discern vegetables. The only vegetable you can discern in rice dressing when I cook it is the green onions I put in at the end. That's it.
Technique.
It's technique. It's very important. You want to talk about
the most important.
Authenticity. You have to talk about it's really technique and flavor profile.
Right.
Because Tony Chachere's onions and peppers and celery does not make things Cajun, guys, or Creole. No. That does not do it. It's not enough.
And you all out there, you all listening right now, you all are doing it. Now, we're not saying that you're not doing it. You're doing it. We're just trying to make you understand what it is you're actually doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
You are putting into play technique and methodologies and putting together these flavor profiles at a very, very high level. I've had some of y'all food. I know I've had some of y'all food outside of my own house. I know how good y'all can cook, but you really, really need to understand the why behind it. And the history is not exactly what you think. It's not just the ingredients, y'all. We're driving this home. It's not just the ingredients on why you're able to create magic in the kitchen. Right. It's the techniques and your ability to create these flavor profiles from it.
And the time.
Right. The
time is probably one of the most important things. I would say maybe most important, because you have to make the time to be able to execute this properly. That's the thing.
Facts.
It's not quick.
No, there's a saying is like, I've seen so far because I've stood on the shoulder of giants.
Ooh.
There's already this base of knowledge that we're working with. We're already working with this high level base. We're standing on the shoulders of people that have built this base. We can see further than them because they already did that.
Exactly.
That's a bar.
You
spitting right now. I'm about to call you Rapper B. Rapper DJ Brandon D. He's spitting right now, son.
Womp, womp, womp.
Think of the giants of Louisiana. Yeah, Ooh. Think of the giants of Louisiana cooking that we stand on, man. Paul Prudhomme, Leah Chase, John Folks. We stand on these people. They've done this stuff, man. They've already done it. Our grandparents, our relatives, all these people.
Yes.
We are, I don't want you to be a slave to tradition either. Like, you can't change it. You can't do anything different. You can do something different. You should do something different. You should push flavors. You should try something new. You should make a lamb gumbo if you have lamb. Why not? It won't work.
I want a bowl.
Bro.
Precisely. Why not?
Who cooking it though?
Yeah, it's true.
Hold on. Yeah, for real.
Hold on. But I mean, like,
I want Casey. I want you to get some pictures of some of those authentic from some of your cookbooks. Snap some pictures. I'm going to insert B-roll right about now.
Also, guys, like, you have to realize that access to ingredients and flavor profiles have changed over the, like, oh man, there was like the thing in like the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s, man, like allspice and clove, super popular spices. Like, in a lot of things. I've seen gumbo recipes. I wish I had a picture of this, but I've seen gumbo recipes with cloves and allspice. Ain't nobody using that nowadays.
Ooh, no, man.
So that's the thing. We have to talk about what has become the traditional flavor profile. Right. Why has it become that traditional flavor profile? Why? Why were some things lost? Why were some ingredients lost and some popped up again and got changed?
That's good questions.
I think this has a lot to do with the modernization of how we receive information. You know, like the most popular ways of doing certain dishes were broadcast on TV. Right. You know, the cooking on TV was such a big innovation for this. You know, like Justin Wilson in Louisiana, Julia Child.
Oh yeah.
You know, Paul Prudhomme, Chef John Folse. All of them having TV shows and showing people how they do it became a popular thing. So I think that has a lot of root on how these recipes have been modernized, how the right way that just because they did it became the right way of doing it. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, how did I learn about shallots? I didn't know what a shallot was. I'm like 11 years old, 12 years old. I learned what a shallot was because I watched Martin Yan on PBS. Yan Can Cook, and he was using shallots. I was like, what is that? It looks like an onion. And if Yan can cook, so can you.
What is this little small onion here?
Martin Yan. I learned a lot watching Martin Yan on, I was like, man, this is interesting, you know, like putting like cornstarch and making a slurry for your Asian, you know, like your Chinese dishes. I didn't know they did this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what a shallot was, you know, all these things that they were doing.
That's very, very true. I mean,
So the exposure, I mean, like Food Network was like a huge thing for me too.
Exposure, yes. It's
Mario Batali, Tyler Florence, Bobby Flay, you know, all the people on the Food Network. That Elton Brown, man, huge influence on me. Elton Brown, love Elton Brown, man.
Huge.
Even though Elton Brown, we got to talk, dude. Like okra gumbo is not supposed to be slimy. Sorry to tell you that. You're wrong.
Yeah, no,
you're wrong.
Definitely
bro.
not.
Like I said, no. I don't eat everybody gumbo.
No, let's just look. I'm gonna just tell you a thing. Like okra. You're not going to learn how to cook okra from like a fancy restaurant.
No,
okra is a down-home cooking thing. Restaurants don't have time to cook okra for 5-6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? That's what it takes.
Yeah,
Horrible process.
Some Cajun Creole dishes cannot be replicated in a restaurant environment.
No, it takes too long.
Which I find very interesting that you, Barbecue Brand, have rice and gravy in a restaurant.
Oh, they took time with that.
I gotta try this place because that is something that is not traditionally on a restaurant menu.
So check it out. When I went there, Tia, my great friends Lauren and Tia, took me there. They were talking amongst themselves because I was staying at their house for the night. I was in town for a work conference, and they were like, "Man, we got to take you out to eat." I was like, where you want to go? I'm like, I don't know. Y'all tell me. Y'all from here. I don't know what y'all got going on over here. Take me to y'all best spot, you know? And then they were talking amongst themselves. They're like, you want to take them to V&A's? You want to go to V&A's? I'm like, what's V&A's? It's like, all right, let's go over there. So we go over there. When we pull up, I'm walking up to the door, and there's a printed out sign on the door. And it says, please, if you are too hungry to wait for your food, this may not be the spot for you. Your food is going to take a while. Order your food, get you a sweet tea. It's unlimited. Go get you as many sweet teas as you want. Sit down, enjoy yourself and your family. When it's ready.
Yeah.
I waited. Hold on. I waited. We waited a good 40 minutes for that food to come out. It was well worth it.
The question was it perfect?
My eyes.
Yeah.
Like a newborn baby, beef cheeks gravy.
What?
Yeah. What? Generally, what you have to do with Cajun food, if you're doing like rice and gravy, you either have to prep cook it, which is not a bad thing because generally gravies get better as they're refrigerated and reheated. They're generally better. Mm-hmm. But it's batch cooked. Once it's out, it's gone. You ain't getting it anymore.
Right.
There's no more left. But like, this is a good point you bring up about Cajun restaurants. when you talk about restaurant food, which is a different style of cooking from cooking at home, flavors have to be restaurant made, be restaurant ready, so they can be cooked in a certain amount of time. This is just how restaurants work. But what they do replicate in good Cajun restaurants is they replicate the flavor profile.
Right.
That's what's replicated. The Cajun flavor profile is replicated. Now, they make slightly different dishes, but they generally try to replicate the flavor profile. Mm-hmm. And that's important.
Yes.
It's those things where it's just, if you're cooking for the masses, which I found out the hard way, you just have to alter your babying techniques. Like what you're used to doing in your own kitchen, you just can't do for 200-300 people.
It just doesn't translate sometimes.
Right.
No.
But so I want to kind of circle back because this made me think about something that I do in my daily work. I've been working in education for a long time, and I coined this term, which was chime. It's the 5 greatest things that will make or break a student in education. Chime, it's KEMMA. It stands for knowledge, exposure, money, mindset, and access. That translates perfectly to exactly what we're talking about when it comes to cooking. Right?
Right. It does.
And earlier is that our grandparents were not stagnant. Right?
No, not at all.
They were influenced. We talk about our ancestors as if they were never influenced, like they were the creators of the earth. They were influenced at one point in time too, whether it be now, depending on how far back you're going, it may not be TV, but they influenced by certain things and certain people that helped mold and transform what they do in the kitchen. And then they made it their own. That's why we always try to get our parents' cookbooks and stuff that they did and wrote down, because they were influenced and they made something their own. Why on earth would you not think that you're not supposed to do the same thing? Right. This legacy doesn't. Your legacy of your bloodline didn't start with your grandparents, and it doesn't end with you. It started before them. Everyone was influenced along the line, and then you continue it on. But you have more knowledge, you have more money, you have more exposure, you have more access, you have a better mindset because you're listening to the Stir in the Pot podcast.
Hey,
there you go.
You're now able, you're empowered. We empower you, people. We empower you to make better food and to transcend from this love of mindset that everything that has to be the exact same with the exact same ingredients. Create. Go and create.
What?
You just have to look at it like I know people say I make my roux with vegetable oil only. I can tell you that is the thing that's going to make the least amount of difference, whether you use vegetable oil, canola oil, corn oil. I generally use avocado oil because I don't buy the other oils. Avocado oil is just general purpose, works for whatever I need. So if I'm making roux, it's probably going to be avocado oil, right? Mm-hmm. Do you really think that makes the difference between avocado and vegetable oil that much of a difference?
No.
Zero, guys. What would make a difference is if you use saturated fat. If I'm going to use beef tallow, lard, or duck fat, chicken fat, that's going to make a big flavor difference. That is a remarkable difference.
Yes.
But any type of seed oil, it's not going to make that much of a difference, dude.
No.
Not at all.
No, you're building on top of that, and you're just creating a stabilizer for your dish and a thickener. And I mean,
vegetable oils, canola oil, vegetable oil, corn oil, peanut oil, avocado oil are used because they are neutral in flavor. That's a reason why they're used. They don't have a lot of flavor.
Right.
What's that term that you use? The narcissism of
small differences. Yes.
The narcissism of small differences.
There's not just because my grandmother uses vegetable oil because that's what's accessible for roux doesn't mean that I can't use something better and make a product that's equal or better.
Now
we need that.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, we need that.
Generally,
that what you're gonna say?
Yeah.
But generally,
I think that we need to think. I think that everyone needs to think about this in two separate ways, right? You don't have to use the exact same thing that your grandmother uses because your grandmother used it. But I do understand if you want to do that. Obviously, nostalgia, you want to, you know what? This the way my grandmother used to make it. This the way I want to make it.
Right.
Just to have that nostalgia, right? I get that. But don't let that pigeonhole you into thinking that you can't deviate.
Right.
Because you absolutely can. You're not messing your dish up. You're not making it worse. You're probably making it better. And it's okay that you are doing that.
I'll give you, go ahead.
If that recipe calls for Crisco, I ain't buying that shit.
Fuck Crisco. No.
That is one of the most disgusting things to me on the face of the earth. A big old vat of Crisco. I will not, if I see a recipe calls for shortening, I will not use it, period.
Man.
There's other ways. There's got to be other ways. I will use straight up butter over that shit. I'm sorry. Here, look, Brandon D rubbing off on me. I can't stand Crisco.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, I can still smell it. Oh, it just dry.
But I'll give you an example of this. So my grandmother was famous for her potato salad with gumbo. We had potato salad with gumbo every time she made gumbo with this potato salad. Her potato salad was awesome. Me, or no one in my family can replicate that potato salad. Can't do it. Tried. I can't do it. I don't make bad potato salad, but it just ends up different. But the closest thing I tasted to my grandmother's potato salad is when one of my friends made potato salad for a Friendsgiving that we had. You remember that?
Mm-mm.
It was Robin. She made potato salad. And I was like, this is the closest thing that I've had to my grandmother's potato salad I've had since she died. It was crazy. I was like, I was never able to replicate it.
Yeah.
So my thing is you probably can't replicate it. Sometimes it's not even good to try.
You don't have the same fingers. You don't have the same toes.
No.
It's not saying you make things worse or it's just things don't tend to be worse or better. They just tend to be slightly different.
Yeah, most of these,
it's your own take.
Most of the dishes we make are preference based anyway. So if I go taste person A, person B, person C, and person D gumbo, I'm gonna have a preference on which gumbo I like. All them gumbos might be good. They might be good, but I may prefer person B's gumbo because it's darker, right? I may prefer somebody else may prefer person D's gumbo because it's a little bit lighter. It just depends. It's all preference. But guess what? I bet them flavor profiles are all pretty much. It's still gumbo, ain't it?
It's still gumbo, man.
So,
all right. Okay, barbecue brand, no gumbo judging for you at a competition.
But I like.
but also you have to realize it's also based on what you can actually tolerate too, because a dark roux gumbo is really good, but man, if you've never had it before, my advice is to start slow start with a little bit, because you're gonna have to ease into that, man. Because if you're not used to that, it can be overwhelming. It's good, but it's very, very strong. So it's like
that's a fact.
It might not sit on your stomach as well as you think, and it's not really the fault of the cook. It's just when you take that flour protein and that starch and you jack with it that much, sometimes it doesn't sit well on some people's stomachs. So if you see somebody making a lighter roux gumbo, you have to realize they may be catering that to their own abilities to actually digest this stuff, man.
This is true.
Dark roux does not sit well on everyone's stomach. It just doesn't.
That's right. It's
I
very
can attest
true.
to that.
We have to do a part 2. We have to do a part 2, dude, because this is just
we haven't even started. We haven't even gotten into the list.
We didn't talk
about
canned food, refrigeration. All these things are huge topics.
Yeah,
dude. I mean that's like one of the biggest.
I touched on it a tiny bit.
Yeah,
just a tiny bit.
The seed.
Food, the TVs, we barely scratched the surface of that. All of that stuff. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. This is as big of a topic as gumbo is, because it just falls into that same scenario.
So yes, we definitely will be continuing this discussion in part 2.
Or part 2 or 3. I don't know how many
it takes us. We finna teach y'all. Y'all didn't know y'all was coming to school tonight, huh?
Oh, let me tell you. Look, exactly. And look, if you need some influencing, if you need some to say, okay, well maybe somebody else has done this, we have.
Yeah.
Cook the gravy with a poblano instead of a
I do.
Bell pepper.
I don't even buy green bell
peppers delicious.
anymore.
We don't have that in delicious. The house. Just poblanos here.
Just poblanos. Yeah. So, it is what it is. But look, you gotta be. I'm not asking you to try now. When you talking about a traditional dish and you change flavor profiles, you say you do something different. You are now not making something traditional. You are making a fusion, and fusions are totally valid.
Totally valid.
It's good to do fusions because you push things. In fact, this dude may have done a fusion of something that many people would consider sacrilegious, and I'm gonna let y'all know what it was: curry okra gumbo. I'm going to show y'all how it's done. And guess what? It came out fantastic.
All right. We're going to table this discussion until next time. So, with that
your boy is wild. Sometimes he does crazy stuff.
With that being said, I'm going to give the end quote of the night. This comes to us from Miss Julia Child. Learn how to cook. Try new recipes. Learn from your mistakes. Be fearless. And above all, have fun. We want to thank you guys for tuning in with us tonight. And as always, keep stirring.
Y'all have a good night, morning, whatever. Let's see y'all later.
#it in.